Welcome to the 35th episode in the martial poetry series. So in this episode we're going to be covering a Baguazhang movement that is seen and practiced among all the different Bagua systems, though maybe slightly differently among the systems, they all have their flavors. But this is called Dragon Stetches Claws. It's both a martial movement as well as a mother palm, where it's like a position that you hold, like a Zhang position, while you walk the circle. So you'll instantly recognize it if you know anything about Baguazhang. It's this position right here. Not specifically with the legs as they are, but the position that your body is holding while you walk the circle. So, the green dragon stretches his claws. It's meant to portray, again, this kind of stretching movement. And anyone who has an animal or a pet, like a dog or a cat, you'll notice that when they stretch, they're not just stretch one limb, stretch other limb. They do the whole body together. You'll see that they'll stretch the whole back, and then they'll stretch the whole hip area. So it's not only stretching the arms or stretching the claws. Think about the Chinese dragon. It's very snake-like. The body's like a snake. So you're stretching through the whole snake body. So it's not just stretch arm, it's stretch torso, stretch arm, stretch leg, even as we walk. So this position, if I go through a lot of the mechanics of it, it's like I'm touching a tree, but I'm trying to reach to the tree, not just with my limb, but with my lats, with my back here. I'm trying to reach and touch the tree. And then I'm going to take this hand, and I'm going to try to do the same thing. So it's not just the arms stretching, but it's my lats and my back stretching, trying to touch the tree. But just because of the way that my body is positioned right now, I can't actually get there, right? But I can try stretching the back as much as I can. And at the same time, I'm not only just stretching forward, because if I only stretch forward and I don't have an equal and opposite reaction going backwards, then if anything pulls on this, I'll easily go forward, right? I need to have something to come back with. So this is, again, where the dragon stretches its back along with this. So as I stretch these limbs forward, it's almost like I have a third arm growing out of my back, and it's reaching backwards with the same force that I'm reaching forward. So I have this kind of reaching backwards kind of vibe, like I'm sinking backwards as I reach forward. And this creates equilibrium within the movement. So there's not only the stretch with the claws, but stretching through the whole back. Much like an animal, they don't just stretch their claws, they stretch the whole system. And that's what it's trying to portray, like any animal. Stretch the whole system, not just one part of the system. And then you walk the circle with this intention in mind. So it's not just I stretch into position and then I just kind of chill here, but I'm actively stretching even while I'm walking, as if I'm trying to grow my limbs further forward. So I maintain this reaching intent as I walk the circle. You never let that go. Because the reason why is because you're trying to create an intention and a force, and an internal rooting as well. So when people would essentially push on your hands, you want to be able to take that force and wrap it around your body and dissipate the force without falling over, right? Because Baguazhang is known for floating root, right? In Chinese martial arts, especially internal ones, we talk a lot about root, a lot about stability and maintaining ground. But in Baguazhang, it's trying to take that idea on wheels, so I can have root, but while also being highly mobile, like Bagua likes to be. Because it's a flanking art, it likes to come from the flanks and attack to the sides and weave around the opponent. So you have to maintain this intention, because this intention of this stretching along here and the stretching trying to get underneath here and the stretching going back is trying to dissipate force as it's coming in. So rather than saying, like we do with when we start learning roots, where we take force and then we take it to the ground through the foot, right? This is the beginning of learning root. In this position, right, even if we like to take this static position and we don't have to force ourselves to walk while we're trying to do this, right? You can see I'm not in a great position to take force coming from this direction. But if I have this reaching, as the force comes into me, it will essentially wrap around because of the intention of my force. As I wrap around, if the force comes to this palm, it'll wrap around and then reach out to this hand. And same thing here, it'll come through here, wrap around and come out this hand. which actually causes me to walk in a circle. Because as it comes into this palm, it will essentially try to make this palm reach even more, which will cause me to want to weave around the opponent's force. So this idea of wrapping the force, which makes it a lot easier, because if you're trying to take the force to the ground through the feet, right, then it requires me to be in a moment where I'm contacting the ground with the foot that I'm intending to take it, and as soon as I pick up this foot, I will no longer have that root. But because of this wrapping force, this wrapping jin, I'm able to take the force and wrap it around my body and dissipate it rather than pushing it to the ground. So that's kind of the idea. So by Dragon Stretching his claws, is creating a stretching intent while also trying to dissipate force as well as create force while also on wheels. Because the same thing applies in reverse, right? Normally force has to come from the ground, from that contact point, out to the hand. But what happens when you're in the middle of walking and that foot's not on the ground right now? Through this intention, through this activation in the torso, you can learn how to have force even when you're not contacting the ground with the foot that you intend to. So you have this activation of the torso for wrapping, not only for accepting force, but also for delivering it. So that's the major lessons to learn with this one. And that's why it's taught at the beginning, because it's a very important and very foundational movement, as well as foundational principles to learn from the movement. So that was the 35th episode in the martial poetry series, covering Green Dragon Stretches his Claws from Baguazhang. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode.